Erev Tov, Rabbi. We're going to continue tonight talking about the prohibition of Yichud, of seclusion, because yesterday we started to speak about it, we explained it. Now I want to tell you something interesting, right? I have a friend, and he has an office. He works, he has. And so he asked me a question. He says, I have secretaries, working there in the office, like every office you have there. So now he wants to avoid the prohibition of Yichud, of seclusion, with the secretaries. So he wants to ask me, he asked me, how can I do this? How can I avoid the problem? So he said, let me ask you a question. Can I put some cameras over there, and my wife will be watching, monitoring the camera, at home. Maybe this will solve the problem. This was his question, Interesting question. Do they work, these cameras? They work? They're on? I better be careful not to send. I don't want to do anything bad. I be careful. Now that I know, they're watching me. Okay. So anyway, right, as we said, this was the question that he asked me. So I thought about it a little bit, and then I gave him an answer. The answer is like this. Okay. The truth is, it says in the halakha that if a man, right, is going to be secluded with a woman, if his wife is there in the room, it's okay. Why is that? Because she guards him, She's the boss, She's a policeman over there, So she's not going to let him do anything. If he does something, she'll take a stick and hit him over the head. So that's not going to work, right? So that's why the halakha says if the wife is there, no problem. There can be also other women there, Even if it's a goya or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. As long as the wife is there, it's all good. So now the question is, what about the cameras? The wife is going to be monitoring the cameras. He's going to be in the office. Is that the same thing?
No.
Why not? You tell me.
They're not secluded.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
They're not secluded.
I'll explain to you what I'm saying. That the reason why it doesn't help, with the cameras, is not the same thing as the wife being there on the premises. Is because the camera, you know how it is, right? The cameras have blind spots. You know what I'm talking about? There are places where they don't see. Depends on where it's holding, here, there. But there are some spots, camera's not going to reach that place. That's the number one. So it's not the same thing as the wife being there. Right. Number two, also could be, they turned off the camera. You know what I mean? If he turns it off, how's it going to help? Or let's say he covered it, right? Some people do that, They cover the camera, so nobody sees what they're doing. That's number three. Also, it could be that as we said, right? All these things, you shut it off. They right, it's not working. Blind spots, right? They covered it. All these things. So therefore, the camera is not really a perfect solution, to all these things. And also, what I want to say is like this, right? Could be, What do you think? The wife was watching there 24 hours a day, the camera, No, she has to do some things, right? She can't sit there, in front of the camera watching, in front of the monitor, watching the camera all the time. No, who does this? Crazy, right? Who does that? So she's not mashgiach, temidi all the time watching everything, what's going on. She's not like that. So therefore, it's not the same thing. So the rule is, the camera is not really going to solve the problem with the yichud, right? That's the general idea. So a person has to. So I told him, I said, I have a better solution for you. Forget about the cameras. Save some money, right? Don't bring the cameras. I told him, I said, it's very simple. If you have women at the office, right? Just don't lock the door. That's it. If the door is unlocked, everything is fine. No problem. Lock the door? Yeah, that's it. Anyway, why would you want to lock the door right in the office? People are coming in and out. So you don't want to lock the door anyway. So if the door is unlocked, you're good.
But sometimes it's like late hours. It's not the proper time.
I'm sorry. What was that again?
I'm saying, let's say it's like around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Everybody already left.
Right.
You need to stay late. She needs to stay late.
Right. So here's the thing, right? I understand what you're saying. I got your question. It's a good question what you're asking. It's a good question what you're asking. But nevertheless, somebody could just walk in, anytime to the office. You know what I mean? His wife could come in. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Anybody could come in. So since the door is open, and people can just come in, walk in whenever they want, there's no problem with Yichud. The problem with Yichud is only when people cannot come in, they have no access to the place. But I'll tell you something which is also like, something what you're saying, similar. which is, let's say you go to a place, right, which is in the woods. No people there, right, walking around. It's empty. You know? So there, if you go into a house, right, and even the door is not locked, it's still a problem. Why? Because nobody's going to come in there. There's nobody there. You know what I mean? The whole place is empty. So we're not talking about that, right? That's something else. That's a different story. But the office, right, is in the city, right, somewhere, So there's a lot of people there always walking around. So there's no problem, somebody can just walk in anytime they want. So therefore, there's no Yichud. There's no problem with Yichud. So let me tell you another interesting, question that one of my friends asked me when I was in Yerushalayim. I had a guy, a Syrian guy, Jewish, learning Chavruta with me. We were learning Chavruta, learning Gemara together. Young guy, young fellow, but he's married. So he asked me, he said, Rabbi, I'm sorry, if you guys want to talk, excuse me? I'm sorry?
Outside.
Can you talk outside? If you want to talk. Thank you, God bless you. So anyway, right, as I said, I had a friend over there, right? So he's married, young guy. He wants to come to me and learn, in the yeshiva. So the problem was, that his cousins came to visit from America, He's American. You know what I mean? All these cousins, these boys, this and that. So they're together in the house with his wife. You know what I mean? When he goes to learn. So he asked me, he said, no, what about this? Right? What's the situation with that? Am I allowed to come and learn with you? And leave these boys over there with my wife? So you remember what we said yesterday, right? We said a couple of things yesterday about this. One is we said, if the husband is in town, the wife can be with somebody in the room. There's no problem, Because she's afraid, that the husband is going to walk in anytime. If he's in town. Understand? So some people, by the way, there was one person here who asked, he said, maybe that's not going to work, Maybe she won't be afraid so much. So you know what it is? The rabbis understood over here something. The psychology of the woman, she's scared. The husband is going to walk in. Psychologically, she's scared of that. By the way, in general, right, the rule is like this, the woman is scared of her husband a little bit, there's a little bit of fear there, Sometimes the man doesn't understand that, he doesn't realize, but there is some kind of a fear, So she's scared to have to have the husband walk in when he's in town, So therefore she won't, because of the fear that she has in her heart, she won't do anything, even if the guy's there with her.
He can trust his wife
I'm sorry?
in this situation.
It's not that we trust her, it's because of the fear, she's afraid. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. The fear is what protects her. But here's the thing, right? So I told her, I said, no, what's the problem? Right? You're in town, right? You're not going out of town to study with me. You're just going around the block, for God's sakes. So what's the problem, right? It's, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. So now here's the thing, right? So he tells me, he says, but Rabbi, he says, in my case it doesn't apply, this rule. It doesn't apply. Why is that?
Because he's scared of her.
Right. We're not talking about Ashkenazi. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Okay. So anyway, right? So anyway, as we said, right, that he told me there's still a problem, Rabbi. I can't rely on that. So I told him, I said, why is that? So he said, you know why? Because it says in halakha like this. Apparently, right, he learned these halachot before we spoke, He learned that. So he was pretty knowledgeable. So he told me, he says, it says in the rabbi, it says in the halakha like this, that even if the husband is in town, but if those men, who are in the house are like, they're very comfortable with her, good friends, like very friendly. They know each other very well, very comfortable. So then it's not allowed. That's the thing, He's right about that. He was right. This is the halakha be'emet, right? That even if the husband is in town, but when the guy in the house, right, is very friendly with the lady, very comfortable, like they grew up together, young, so they feel very comfortable together, this kind of thing. So then it doesn't help. So, what I told him? I said, right? I said, yeah, okay, you're right. In that case, it doesn't help. So then he told me, Rabbi, he says, what do I do? Right? So I told him, I said, very simple. Leave the door unlocked, as I told you, right? Just leave it unlocked, Tell your wife, don't lock the door. Leave it open. It doesn't have to open the door, just unlocked. It can be closed, but unlocked. So he asked me a good question now, this guy, right? He's sharp, this kid. He learned the halachot already. So he says, Rabbi, he says, where does it say that? You know that when you don't lock the door, it's okay. Where does it say this? You know.
Nothing.
So you know what he told me? He said, I learned all the halachot in Shulchan Aruch, and I didn't see this halacha that you say. You know. So I told him, I said, it's okay, it's okay. I told him, it's all right, don't worry. Why is it all right? Why is it okay? So I told him, I said, you know what you missed? This halacha is not in that chapter, in the Siman over there, right? About Yichud. It's in a different chapter. Talking about something else. So I told him, I said, it says over there. So he says, Rabbi, he says, what do you mean? I learned all the halachot, I didn't see this halacha. I said, yeah, you know, because the Chazal say, by the way, you know, like this, regarding this kind of a concept. It says, Divrei Torah tzrichim zeh et zeh. You know what this means? There's also another way they say it, right? The Chazal. Divrei Torah aniyim b'makom echad v'ashirim b'makom acher. You ever hear this? What does this mean? What it means is that sometimes, you know, you learn the halachot in one place, in one chapter, but there's another halacha somewhere else, you know, and you didn't see that halacha because you didn't learn all the places. You just learned that chapter only. So I said, you know, that's what it is. You didn't learn that chapter over there. You only learned the chapter of Yichud. There's also another chapter which has one halacha over there, this halacha. So he says, Rabbi, you know, can you send it to me by email? I want to see. I want to see where. I said, no problem. So where is this written? It's written in Bet Yosef, in the name of the Rashba, right? Rashba, one of the big Rishonim. He writes this, you know, that if the door is not locked, there's no prohibition of Yichud. You know, that's the rule. So therefore, right, it's not really a problem.
Why didn't bring it in the Shulchan Aruch?
He does. The Ramah brings it. The Ramah brings it, and the Shulchan Aruch there, and the Beit Yosef also brings it. Now here's the thing. Something interesting I want to tell you. Which is, what about if a person, right, is has Yichud, you know, with a Goya, right, with a Goy, right, and the Goya, husband and wife, like this, right? He's together with them. So the question is he allowed to be secluded with them together? Maybe his wife protects him, you know, like we said. You know, the Goya protects the Goy. Or no? Right? So the answer is, here we don't say his wife protects him. You know why? Because the Goyim, they're prutzot. They don't care, you know. His wife will allow him, you know, maybe to do something with this lady. You know what I mean? With this guy. You know, with the Jewish guy, her husband maybe won't mind. You never know what's going to be, you know. So we don't say here, right, so let me explain it one more time. Right, I didn't say it right. What we're talking about is it's a Jewish woman being together with a married couple, you know, goyim. Right? So we don't say over here the wife will guard him. You know why? Because then maybe the wife will let him go. Because the goyim, you know, they're not careful about these things. They don't care. You know, they like to have groups together, you know, together. They don't mind. So we don't say here the wife is going to guard him because they're goyim. The goyim don't guard. They don't care about this thing. They're very loose, you know. They go for everything. You understand? So you can't rely on that. So don't come with that claim. And so as we said, right, the only solution, as we said, one is to leave the door open, right, not locked. It can be closed, but not locked. Number two, as we said, right, the other solution, very simple, right? There's a group of women, there's a group of men, right? More, you know, two or more. So then it's okay, you know. We don't mind if there's two or more. Then that's okay.
So if a man with a couple, a man, not a woman, a man with a couple of goyim, is it a neighborhood for the man?
What? Like all men?
Jewish man with a couple, goyim.
Right.
The couple, the goyim.
Yeah, there's a problem with Yichud. There's a problem with
problem.
Yichud. Yeah, there's a problem. Because we don't say he guards him, he guards her, she guards him. We don't say all these things with the goyim. They're prutzot.
So goyim, you have a problem.
You always have a problem unless it's a group. You know, so if you got a group there.
Group of Jewish people.
No, what I mean is that there's like two or more, right, of women and two or more of men.
Even if all of them go in?
Yeah.
So if you remove
There's no prohibition if you could like that. There's no prohibition if you could like that. There was a case, you know, I'll finish with this, we gotta do our read. There was an interesting case where, if you guys remember, right, you remember this guy, Ilan Ramon? This name, you remember? Ilan Ramon? The astronaut, right? this guy, he was also a pilot, for the plane, He was the one who bombed the nuclear reactor in Iraq. Same guy, right? He was an Air Force pilot. Pilot, right? So he, what happened was, right, that they invited him to go to the space shuttle. You know what I mean? To go up there to space. The Americans invited him. Understand? So the thing was, the truth is, there was some women there also, But because there was a group, so it was okay. There was Yichud there. They had cameras, but as we said, cameras don't help you. So, but anyway, right, it's okay. Why? Because there was, the truth is, over there it may have been a problem. You know why? Because maybe there was only one woman, So if there was only one woman, it's a problem. You know what I mean? Whatever. So that could be, problem of Yichud. Anyway, that's a different discussion. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen. רבי חנניה בן כשומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לעזור לישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר אדוני חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.